Whoa! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Finally, New York Mets fans have something good to feel good about. I mean, the New York Mets win 13-5, and finally, you got to see a great performance. Mets slugfest. But the news, the story of the night, and I gotta say, congratulations to the new home run king for the New York Mets, Mr. Pete Alonso, hitting number 253 and number 254. I'm telling you, folks, that was huge. That was huge. This game, this game. This game was honestly not easy. It ended up being an easy game, laugher, but for the first 4 innings, I'm telling you, I'm like, all right, here we go again. And you could see early on, we're getting into the fourth inning. Clay Holmes getting tired already, and that fourth inning obviously did not end well. Mets up 5-1. Oh, Alvarez hits a bomb. With Pete Alonso, 2-run homer. Mets are winning 5-1. You got a great lead there. And Holmes, come on, get 5 innings. Please get 5 innings. Please. No, too much. So you have Gregory Soto coming in once the game is 5-5. And you know what? The Mets took off after that. Gregory Soto, he pitched a nice inning and a third. The Mets offense would then kind of catapult the Mets into this win. Brandon Nimmo hit a 3-run homer, and the Mets bullpen, thank God, had a rest. Hangman would come in after Soto. He would go almost 4 innings. He went freaking 4 innings. Folks, that was huge. This bullpen needed a damn rest. You had off yesterday. Thank God most of the bullpen besides Soto had off today. That is huge. Now, a lot of good things in this game. A lot of good things. You had us coming off an off day, reset, losing 11 out of the last 12. Obviously, we know not good. But we're facing the Braves. We're facing the Braves. You had Steve Cohen make some pretty significant comments yesterday. And you had Steve Cohen make an announcement on X, make an announcement on social media that not only does he believe in this team, that he would be personally in the stands for the duration of this 3-game series. Nonetheless, he gave a vote of confidence to this entire squad. Despite playing bad. How much did that help today? How much did that extra support help today? Also, Mendoza made comments before the game. We're going to get into some of those comments because everything looks and sounds so much better after a victory. I'll tell you that. Everything sounds better after a victory, especially a victory like this, where the New York Mets, besides the first 4 innings where it was a bit of a seesaw, the New York Mets were dominating. Now, put it in perspective. We're playing the Braves. The Braves are very, very injured. But it didn't matter who we were playing in the last couple of weeks. Did not matter which pitcher was on the mound. Did not matter which team we were playing. The Mets stunk it up. Today, not that. Everybody from Nimmo, I mean, that 3-run homer was huge. That gave us an 8-5 lead. Nimmo looked great. 2 hits, 3 RBIs from Nimmo. You had Alvarez, freaking phenomenal. And I'm telling you, Alvarez, in my opinion, has always been the damn key. Has always been the key. Always. And you see him, not only is his swing good, you see him going opposite field homer. You see him pulling the ball to left field. Wherever the ball is pitched, you see Alvarez going with the pitch. And this kid has power too. We haven't seen it because he lost a lot of confidence. But Alvarez is getting that confidence back. And that is exciting. So you see Alonso, that's a positive. You have Alvarez, huge positive. But up and down the lineup, Beatty hitting a home run. Mullins is looking like he's really a very useful piece. I'll say that, a very useful piece. He had that great at bat in the middle of the game that helped extend the lead. Great stuff up and down the lineup today. And again, saving the bullpen, that cannot be understated. Cannot be understated. Between today and yesterday, the bullpen actually has 2 days of rest. And for the rest of this series, the Mets have a huge advantage with the starting pitching. We have David Peterson and we have Kodai Senga going the next 2 games. Again, the Braves team is decimated. Their starting pitching staff is decimated with injury. Their best pitcher, Spencer Strider, tonight, we pummeled him. 8 runs off Spencer Strider. And, I always take, when Spencer Strider's on the mound, I always take it personal. Because a couple years ago, he always made those comments about the New York Mets, not really being that great offensively and getting lucky. Today, the Mets didn't get lucky. They beat the crap out of Spencer Strider. So that felt good. That really felt extra good for me personally. But the New York Mets, the next 2 games, will have a huge pitching advantage. And if this offense tends to stay hot, we've had these moments where the offense scores some run. Never like this. I mean, what do we have? 13 2-out runs? Ridiculous. So the offense was extra hot. 13 runs scored, 16 hits. I think during the show, they were saying how the Mets were 3 runs behind the all-time record scoring runs with 2 outs. We had 13 this game. The all-time record is 16. So the New York Mets almost set history in multiple ways. Pete Alonso, the home run record, and scoring runs with 2 outs. So that's big, folks. That is big because, you want these players to have confidence and you want these players to come up big when it matters. And, folks, this team came up big tonight when it matters. And, I'm telling you, like losing 11 out of 12, you're not usually in a position that you're going to feel so confident. So I really do like what went on tonight. I just want to say hello, everyone. Mets family, what's going on? Jason, what's going on, my man? Music man. Oh, what is going on? Great night. I mean, it's always better after a win, and I want to look towards the next couple games. I mean, I want to be reserved because I want to put it in perspective. We still lost 11 out of our last 13, but the fact how we won this game, it just really gives me confidence that this team has turned the page just a little. We still got to get that momentum going. And before we went on that 11 out of 12 stretch, we won 7 in a row. So let's hope we can capture that energy, that momentum. Ray, hanging man. Again, you cannot say enough about him conserving the bullpen, not having to run any more top leverage relievers. I mean, we've run the heck out of Tyler Rogers since he's got here. I mean, I don't think the guy's had a chance to rest. Thank God he's got a couple nights in a row to rest. And that goes for the rest of the bullpen. Diaz has had a lot of rest, but still, he's coming off a very rough game. So it's good somewhere our top guys get a chance to rest. Actually, really good. And, it just gets you really excited for these next couple games because Cincinnati, who's right behind us, they won. The Phillies, they did lose because Cincinnati was playing the Phillies. So one team had to lose. So we're about still 5 games out in the NL East. But it's all about trends. How is this team trending? And I think right now, after this win, we are trending in a positive direction. Really, no doubt about that. Okay. So, I mean, before the game, we heard a lot of comments from Carlos Mendoza. And, we heard that Montas, he's going to the bullpen. So my automatic thought was, all right, the bullpen's got a little worse. You got Frankie Montas going to the bullpen. But the problem still persists. I mean, even though we scored a lot of runs today, the problem still is going to persist. We need our starters to get length. Now, this was the type of game that I would have envisioned before the season. You got a great offense, and that offense is going to have to support your team when the pitchers aren't going to be that productive. Now, today, this was a great formula. You have a guy who's not throwing great, and then you have Hangman come in, and he gives you a great, strong outing. You have the offense carry you. But again, going forward, things have to be fixed. So Montas goes to the bullpen. And I just want to point one thing out. If anyone who heard the pre-game comments from Mendoza, we didn't win yet. Let's put that in mind. So they asked Mendoza about the team's lack of success. And they asked him why Montas was out of the rotation. And he stated this team needs consistency. This team needs consistency. And again, consistency is key. Big win, score a lot of runs today, but we need consistency. That's why Montas, according to Mendoza, does not have a job. But you know what? This goes all ways. We need consistency from everyone. That means we need consistency from Mendoza. We need consistency from Lindor. We need consistency from a lot of players that have not been consistent. Now, again, right after they asked him about Montas, and Montas, who's not consistent, is in the bullpen, then they asked him, what about Lindor? Why has Lindor been struggling? Well, Mendoza didn't really have any answers about why Lindor was struggling, which, I was like, all right, at least give us something. And then they said, are you going to give Lindor days off? Because the guy's struggling. He's been struggling. And then they said, Mendoza responds, no, I'm not. Lindor is going to be the solution. Lindor is the first guy out there. We're going to play Lindor over and over and over again. And then I'm like, all right, again, this is before the win. I'm like, that's a bit hypocritical. You're taking a couple guys out. You're being harder on a couple guys for being inconsistent, but you're running Lindor out in the top of the lineup regardless of consistency. So me thinking before the game, what's going on in the clubhouse, that's hypocrisy. Around the clubhouse, that's not going to fly. So I'm hoping a game like this puts good feelings on everyone, and that hypocrisy or that inconsistency by the manager won't matter as much, because at the end of the day, it's all about winning. So that's one of the comments that kind of caught me side-eyed before the game. But again, good wins like this kind of put those comments to the back burner. Mets family, going tomorrow with my son, on-field BP. I'm looking forward to it. Well, we'll have a great time. I mean, those were always the highlights of my day. Going BP. BP is awesome. You guys have a great time. And the good thing about it is most likely you're going to have all the Mets out there, because I think they even mentioned it on the show. They said that usually 3 or 4 Mets do BP, but today 9 Mets, every single starter went out before the game for batting practice. And I was actually surprised. I haven't seen BP in a while. I was surprised that, regularly only 2 to 3 Mets take BP. I mean, you could see the effect. I know anytime I played a game in my career, I never played at that level, but any baseball game I had, I always tried to take BP. Our teams always tried to take BP. So you see the effect today. I mean, the Mets hitters, the timing, everything, the at-bats, every single player up and down the lineup looks so much sharper. So whatever the team did today, definitely keep up that trend. So enjoy the BP tomorrow. I believe everybody got a hit in the lineup except for the Squirrel, but the Squirrel did have a walk. So, I mean, he did get on base, but everybody had a hit. Lindor had a hit. He had that bunt. Soto had a hit, even though it was off a position player. He still got a hit. Nimmo mashed today. Alonso mashed. Marte, 2 big hits. Mullins, 2 big hits. Alvey, 3 big hits. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited about Francisco Alvarez because if you look at him in the box, he just looks confident. The kid looks confident. He looks comfortable. And again, he's using the whole field. We are yet to see this kid's anywhere near this kid's potential. I'm still waiting for Francisco Alvarez's potential because we are so far away from it. Even when he hit the 25 home runs his rookie year, he was nowhere near his potential. He was extremely upset that, he didn't hit the average, that his OPS wasn't as high as he wanted it to be. There were so many things he was disappointed with. And when I heard this kid's attitude, I'm like, you know what? This kid's going to be special. In the last couple of years, he lost confidence. He got hurt. His mechanics went all haywire. Now, this is the first time that finally we get to see him locked in. I am just hoping, praying the kid doesn't get hurt. I'm just hoping nothing bad happens because we need a guy like that, second half of the lineup. You need a guy like that with that type of talent. Mauricio too. I don't know. I just feel so much better right now. Even Beatty today looked a lot sharper at the plate. He got 2 hits. And then I'm like thinking in the back of my head. They're playing the Braves, but again, in the last couple of weeks, it didn't matter who the New York Mets played. They would just play horrible. They would find ways to lose. So good, very good stuff today. Very good stuff. Hope they do. Great for the kids. Yeah, awesome for the kids. Awesome for the kids. Awesome for the fans. I mean, one of the great things I liked, I'm in Florida, so I got to watch most of the games on TV. And one of the things I love today was I love to see Citi Field rocking. I just love that. And that helps the team. Alonso said it after the game, how much that makes these players feel good. He thanked the fans. And, at the end of the day, fans want to see the players play with heart, play hard, play their best. And that's what the Mets did today. So if everyone can replicate this energy, hopefully we capture that same magic that we captured last August. And if you remember, folks, we captured that magic at the end of August. So we're still in a decent position. Yes, you would like to be, in first place in the NL East, but whatever. It is what it is. The Mets are still in a playoff position right now, and the odds before this game, and the odds mean nothing, but the odds still say that the Mets have a 76% chance to make the playoffs. Now, again, if you looked at the Mets odds last year at this time, I think they had like an 80% chance not to make the playoffs, and they did. So odds really mean nothing, but it's just a good thing to see that the Mets are still, despite losing 11 out of their last 13, are still in a decent position. Not great, decent. Nimmo, huge homer. Huge homer. And Nimmo's been on a slump. Nimmo hasn't been making contact. I mean, hopefully that just gets him going. That 3-run homer was huge because, you could just feel when the Braves tied it up and when Gregory Soto came in the game, it could have been disastrous. It really could have been disastrous. Soto shut the door. But still, if Nimmo didn't put some gap between the Mets and the Braves, who knows? I think we really kind of took the wind out of the sail of the Braves. The Braves right now, they are kind of done. Even Keith was saying it on the broadcast that Profar is not running to third, and the Braves players, it kind of seems like they're running the season out, and whatever, that's fine. We'll take the wins. But as long as the Mets continue that upward trend, continue that upward trajectory. All right, so let's go over some game highlights from this game. Obviously, Mets winning 13-5, putting a lot of runs on the board. We spoke about the pitching. Not so great from Holmes, going 3.2 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 5 walks. 5 walks. Any of you who focused on that 4th inning, and we're going to talk about that 4th inning in detail momentarily, but that 4th inning, you could tell he was gassed. He was gassed. Keith Hernandez kept saying as he was walking guys and putting men on base, oh, just throw the sinker. We need a double play. I'm saying in the back of my head, I'm pretty sure the guy was trying to induce ground ball contact. He just had no control. You could tell Holmes was gassed. In the future, Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, are those spots going to sprout? McLean, maybe. I think you're going to see one of those guys on Saturday. So one of those answers is going to happen very, very soon. But Clay Holmes, definitely we have to work out some kind of program with him because this is not going to work, him going 3 innings. The reason why we took out Montas is because he went a pathetic 3 innings. All right, so the first inning, Braves score 1 run. Again, you start up the game, you walk Jurickson Profar, Matt Olson doubles. Then you get Drake Baldwin to ground out. Ozuna strikes out. And Michael Harris strikes out swinging. But on the ground out from Drake Baldwin, that forced a run in. That caused the game to go 1-0 in favor of Atlanta. But very, very good. The Mets would not strike back in the bottom of the first, but they would eventually strike back in the bottom of the second. Started off like this. You have Pete Alonso. Everybody is waiting for number 53. You had to wait a little longer because in the bottom of the second inning, Pete Alonso doubles to left field. Nice contact. Next batter up, Jeff McNeil lines out. Next batter, Marte grounds out. Cedric Mullins, again, looking hot. He singles on a line drive to center field. Pete Alonso scores, and the Mets make it 1-1. All right, so you got Mullins on base, and Francisco Alvarez, he is up. Francisco Alvarez, again, the way he's taking the pitches, seeing the pitches, phenomenal. He hits a home run to right center field. And again, it's not only that he's hitting home runs, it's not only that he's making hard contact. Remember this guy 2 months ago, his swings, he was pulling off the ball. His head wasn't down on the pitch. They showed a replay of Francisco Alvarez making contact. His eyes were down, looking at the ball. They said he was gritting his teeth, but you could see his mechanics are on point. Hits a 2-run bomb, makes it very impactful. The Mets went up 3-1 in the bottom of the second inning. Next batter up, Brett Beatty flies out. Okay, so it's 3-1 at that point, and the Mets, Clay Holmes has a pretty easy top of the third, although he did have a walk to Profar. He got a friendly double play. Drake Baldwin grounded into double play, which was very helpful, or who knows, this game could have got out of hand a little earlier than it did. So in the bottom of the third inning, the Mets again, and this is the good thing about the Mets. Look at the box score, folks. The Mets scored in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive innings. So the second consecutive inning was the third inning. Bottom of the third inning, Francisco Lindor lines out to the right fielder. Juan Soto grounds out to the second baseman. 2 outs. Again, everything was done with 2 outs. Brandon Nimmo singles on a line drive to left field. Pete Alonso, this is the magic moment. Bottom of the third inning, Pete Alonso up. Brandon Nimmo at first base, and Pete Alonso hit a line drive to right field. From the side view camera, I didn't think it had enough to go out. Pete Alonso, after the game, he said it didn't have enough to go out. But, folks, it had enough to go out. This was 253. Citi Field goes crazy, and the Mets take a 5-1 lead. Now, if you're a Mets fan and it is 5-1 and you have Holmes on the mound, you're saying just go throw strikes. throw strikes, attack the hitters, attack the hitters. All right, so we go to the fourth inning with a 5-1 lead and feeling good. So the inning started off fine. Marcell Ozuna strikes out swinging. Great. Attack. Next batter up, Michael Harris singles. Ozzie Albies singles. And if you remember this single, it's he hit a ground ball to the shortstop. Francisco Lindor dove. It hit his wrist, kind of hit the heel of the glove, portion of his wrist, and the ball deflected away. That's usually a ball that a guy like a platinum glove like Lindor, that's usually a play that he makes. And again, Mets fans are thinking like, he usually makes it, not making it. Now, Atlanta might be mounting some type of run here. Okay, so you got 2 men on base. Just get the next guy out. And Keith Hernandez kept saying, we need a double play. Clay Holmes in this situation does the opposite of what he should be doing. He walks the next guy. So you have bases loaded, and you have the immortal Nacho Alvarez up. Nacho Alvarez Jr. I don't know who the hell that guy is, but he doubles on a short line drive to Brandon Nimmo in left, and right away, Atlanta cuts into the lead. It is 5-3. And I'm really upset. I'm almost about to give up on this game. It is 5-3. And I'm just hoping, I could see Clay Holmes is struggling. You could see the pitch count mounting. You could see how this guy cannot attack the hitters. You can see that he has no control. All right. So we got to leave him in because the bullpen is exhausted. So Mendoza leaves him in at this point. He walks the next batter, Nick Allen. Next guy up, Jurickson Profar grounds out into a force out. And if you remember this, grounds out into a force out, hits it to Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil bobbles the ball, and gets one out. Thank God he got one out. Thank God. Next batter up, Matt Olson doubles and tie ball game. You see Carlos Mendoza. The camera pans to Mendoza, and Mendoza walks to the mound, making a pitching change. Gregory Soto comes in, and Gregory Soto gets the next batter, Drake Baldwin, to ground out. All right, folks, bottom of the fourth inning, nightmare, disaster. That's what we've seen the last 2 weeks, and you're just hoping. Let's see. The Mets scored up to this point in 2 consecutive innings, 5 runs in the last 2 innings. Can they continue this trend? And this was the biggest hit. The bottom of the fourth inning didn't start off great. You had Francisco Alvarez striking out. You had Brett Beatty then grounding out. So 2 outs. This started with 2 outs. Francisco Lindor throws down a bunt. They were giving him a bunt, throws down a bunt. He's on first base. Next batter up, and this was a very important at bat. Juan Soto, very tough at bat. He worked a walk. I highlighted this on my scorecard because obviously if Juan Soto makes out, Nimmo never gets up. So Juan Soto, very key at bat in the bottom of the fourth inning. This allowed Brandon Nimmo to come to the plate with Lindor on base and Juan Soto on base. Brandon Nimmo then got a pitch right down the middle, took a nice, easy swing, didn't overswing, hits the ball to the right, down the right field line, kind of almost to right center, and it's a 3-run bomb. Hits his 20th home run of the year. Mets take an 8-5 lead, and that was so key. Not the biggest key. I think the next inning and the couple innings after that, the bullpen just did such a great job. Gregory Soto didn't make it easy. In the top of the 5th, Marcell Ozuna would fly out. Michael Harris would get on base. Ozzie Albies would get on base with a single. And then the next 2 batters, Vidal Brujan would fly out and Nacho Alvarez would pop out. So a couple hits were surrendered, but the Mets did a great job not surrendering any runs after they made it an 8-5 lead. That was very important. Do not surrender runs. Now, what was even more important is they continue to add on runs. In the 5th inning, the Mets did not stop. You have Jeff McNeil striking out, Starling Marte striking out. So, game time. You got 2 outs. Cedric Mullins hits a nice ball, goes oppo, or almost oppo. He hits it to the left center field gap, and the outfielder kind of cut it off. And it shows you what type of speed Cedric Mullins has, because he was still able to stretch this into a double. And I'm like, excellent, excellent. Next batter up, you have Francisco Alvarez, and Francisco Alvarez hits a bullet to the wall, and that ended up being a double, and that scored Cedric Mullins. And again, that extends the lead at the time. Next batter up, Brett Beatty hits a nice single up the middle, and at that point, it is 10-5 going into the 6th inning, and this was very big. And I actually said in the top of the 6th inning, this 10-5 lead actually allows the Mets to rest the bullpen. So you got a 5-run lead, and now you're able to bring in Hagenman. He comes in, very easy 6th inning. Strikes out Nick Allen, fly out by Profar, and strikes out Olsen. Very, very impressive. Okay, so as we know, the Mets would continue to add on. They add 1 more in the 6th, 2 more in the 7th. And you know what, folks? This was a very, very complete game by the offense. It's, again, very key moments. You have the Soto walk. You have the Nimmo 3-run bomb. You have even the Lindor bunt. Very key moments in the game. And the defense still has to get much better, but I don't know. This was a very good game. Very good game. All right, let me get to some of the comments. Agree with that. Mullins looked good. I think Mullins, some people slept on Mullins. I think some people slept on this acquisition. I think this is going to be a very key acquisition. The guy has all-star caliber potential. Not saying he's going to be, a basher at the plate, but he's a very smart player. I like his presence in the clubhouse. That's important. But what he's doing on the field right now, solid, very solid in center field. Guy's got speed. The guy's a very heady baseball player, very professional lefty bat. I like him in the 7-hole. I like what he does. He creates a little bit of pressure. You want to create pressure on the opposing team. So, yeah, I'm liking Mullins. Very, very good so far. Nimmo, very huge home run. Can't be understated. What's up, Jason? Nimmo, yeah, Nimmo. You know what? How many? Pete was getting a bit hot, right? So he had a big game. Nimmo needed this game. I feel Alvarez, although his swing was getting better, he needed this game. Brett Beatty needed this game. The Mets offense needed this game. The Mets fan base needed this game. Everybody needed this game. I mean, up and down the Mets organization, this was needed. Now, again, I still think that we got to get Lindor going. You got to figure out why, how to get this guy going. Lindor is still very, very important, but it's good if you get the rest of the offense going so you can win in spite of him. Today, a guy like Lindor didn't really get involved offensively except for that very important bunt. I don't want to take that away, but, I want to see him swing like he was the first 2 months of this year. We're still a long ways off from that. Ray, you're right. This offense can hammer out runs at any time. We need consistency. Absolutely. Absolutely. You get some confidence again against Atlanta, against the Atlanta Braves, a team that you've had trouble with in the past. You go forward. Next series, one series at a time. But this is how we're going to get confidence. Every player on that team has talent, has potential. Nimmo, we spent a lot of money on him. Lindor, spending a lot of money on him. So, of course, you rely more of those guys. But, I think when you have guys like Beatty, guys like Alvarez, guys like Mullins, they take pressure off guys like Nimmo, Alonso. So it makes the game a whole lot easier. It's easy. It's fun when everybody hits. Yeah, Juan, you said it. Finally a good win. Finally a good win. Clay should be called Play-Doh. Robbie, what's up? Where have they been the last 2 months? Yeah, it's been tough. It's been rough since mid-June. But you know what? This is like one. I believe this is one of those games that actually can really get us going. It was an historic game, very historic. And again, let's not take what happened before the game. Let's not forget that. Let's not take Steve Cohen's vote of confidence, Steve Cohen being in the stands, Steve Cohen posting on social media, Steve Cohen giving a vote of confidence to Carlos Mendoza. Now, Carlos Mendoza, if we've listened to his press conferences the last couple of games before this game, didn't sound very good, didn't sound very confident. Now, if he was worried about getting fired, and I'm not getting into the conversation today if he deserves to be fired, but let's just say he was worried about being fired. Human nature, right? I mean, maybe that was causing him to not do his best. And, obviously he's the one motivating. He's the leader of this team. If the leader of this team is not putting his best foot forward, that's going to affect the whole team dynamic. Now he gets a vote of confidence from Steve Cohen himself. He feels better. The team feels better. And you saw a team that is confident and that enjoys playing baseball. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, how many times where, you pan the camera at Lindor, you put the camera at Vientos, all around the players. The Mets players looked miserable. Even on our last homestand, we looked miserable. Today, no, everybody looked happy. And now, let's not forget one thing. Pete Alonso, I got to believe the guy was pressing a bit to get to 253. I got to believe anybody would think a guy would press. You know what? Keith Hernandez also said this too. Let's see this guy. Let's see the beast out of the cage. Let's see, with no pressure on, you're already the home run king in New York Mets history. Let's see him take off like he did in the first couple months of the season. I love to see that, because that version of Pete alone can carry the team. And Juan Soto, he's been very, very, I want to say above average all year. Always getting on base. He's hitting home runs. We like him to have more average, have more hits, but he's been very serviceable. Now you put Soto before one of the hottest hitters, and Pete, I believe he's 1 RBI behind Schwarber. He's around the league leader in terms of RBIs. So, Pete, you give him credit. Run producing has always been a strong suit besides last year. So, a hot Pete is going to be dangerous. A hot Alvarez is going to be, very helpful as well. Another guy we got to get hot. Another guy we got to get going, and that is Mark Vientos. I don't want to forget about him. And this, surprisingly enough, like, you want to look at the Mets depth, how deep the team is. Today you didn't have Mauricio in the game. You didn't have Vientos in the game. I mean, the Mets are a deep team. We got sticks on this team. It's just that we've all gone cold at the same time. So, that would be great to have, like, this whole team suddenly pick it up at the same time. And Marte too. Starling Marte, very solid. Like, if you look at Starling Marte, he's actually put together a pretty decent season. Like, and again, that tells you in terms of how deep the team is. I mean, through 200 at bats, Starling Marte is batting close to 280, 6 home runs, 23 RBIs. I know his wheels aren't like they used to be a couple years ago, but just a guy off the bench who gives you that righty stick DH from the against lefties. I mean, really, the guy's 36 years old. There's really not much more you can ask from Marte at this point. So it's good to see that he's actually doing pretty decent as well. And again, it goes to show you that this team actually does have depth. I'm going to keep identifying the same thing. And we're going to see in the next, I'd say 2 weeks, 2 weeks, how far this team can go. The kids that the Mets bring up, how effective are they going to be in supplementing the innings for our starting pitching? Meaning like if we bring in Sprout, can he give us a good solid 6 or 7? I mean, that's going to be a whole hell of a lot better than putting Montas in there, who struggles to give you 3 innings, right? And then I still think that one guy bringing up is just a start. I think we're going to end up bringing 2 guys, 3 guys up. I mean, you just promoted a couple guys to AAA, like a Jonah Tong, so he's a little further away. But I'm excited to see our top 2 pitching prospects. Well, there was one writer who compared our situation to almost 2015, saying that in terms of our young pitching in the minor leagues, like this is the first time since 2015 that the New York Mets have a slew of young pitching weapons. So that's going to be the key. I don't want to put a lot of pressure. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on these guys, but the fact of the matter is the situation, how it stands with, obviously it's pretty obvious. Montas isn't really an option. You have Clay Holmes, who's just looks like he's getting very tired. David Peterson, although he's been decent, he's in a different, stratosphere. He's pitched more innings this year than any other year in his entire career. You have Kodai Senga, who looks like he might be, I don't want to say he's gassed, but, he's still building up his arm. And then you saw what Sean Manaea gave you the other day. So the situation is what it is. I mean, I said this last week, the days, longing for Griffin Canning. I never thought I would say that, but Griffin Canning gave you a very solid 5-6 innings, did a very serviceable job. When he was pitching well, you didn't have to even think about going to a Sprout or a McLean. You didn't have to think about it. Now with the offense, with the Montas looking bad and Manaea looking unacceptable, now you look at Brandon Sproat and now you look at Nolan McLean. So I didn't see it yet. I don't think they announced who is going to be the Saturday starter. Is it going to be McLean? Is it going to be Sproat? Who will be the next new Met? Who's going to be the next new Met? I mean, I kind of want to see Nolan McLean, but I think that, it's a matter of time before we see both. So McLean, he last pitched on August 10th. So he last pitched on August 10th. Today is the 12th. So you got 12th, 14th, 15th, 16th. So, I mean, you would have, in terms of 5 days rest, you would have McLean on about 5 days rest. So far, he's pitching this year to a 2.77 ERA, a 1.12 whip. He's got 127 strikeouts in 113 innings. Sproat's last start, I'm just looking it up. Sproat's last start came on August 7th when he allowed 3 runs on 3 hits in 6 innings, and he struck out 4. I don't know. I think it's good. I want to see McLean, but again, like, I want to see some of these young kids, regardless of who it is. Jason, you're right. I actually didn't see the game tonight. Came home exactly when they were leaving the field. Well, hopefully, maybe you got to see Pete Alonso get interviewed. They got to dump the water on his head. That's pretty exciting usually. But you know, in the past couple of weeks, if you missed a game, wasn't a big deal because it was usually a stinker. You actually missed a pretty exciting game. But I'm telling you, I was close in the 4th inning. In the 4th inning, I was close to, not wanting to watch. I was close to shutting it off. But thank God I watched the bottom of the 4th inning. Thank God. Hey Juan, Brave sign PED users, woman beaters, no respect for that. I agree. I agree. And the Braves, how far have they fell in like just a short period of time? I, I mean, just like a year ago, they were predicted last year. I remember, it's either going to be the Braves or the Dodgers. In just such a short period of time, that team fell far. That team fell far. Now, I know they have a lot of injuries now, but there was a time, I believe, in June and late May where they had Acuna back, Strider, they had everybody back, Albies, and they still had a hard time winning. So I don't care now that the whole team is decimated because even when they were healthy, they still kind of stunk this year. I hated losing to the smug Brewers. I mean, the Brewers. They're looking nasty. They won. They dominated tonight. I mean, the Brewers. They might be the team where because I'm still not worried about the Dodgers, but that might be the team where we really gotta kind of get past. I don't want to say worry about getting past, but they won 14-0 today. 14-0, and I believe they were facing Skeens. Oh no. Oh yeah, they were facing Skeens. So I mean, they did it off of a dominating pitcher. Skeens pitched 4 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. So they just have such a damn good approach. You got to give the hitters credit. So I mean, like, does that make some people feel a little bit better about Sean Manaea? I mean, Paul Skeens struggled against the Brewers. Sean Manaea is nowhere near Paul Skeens, but like it just goes to show you how dominating the Brewers are, how good they are. And if you saw a bunch of stats, the Brewers offensively are leading in many different offensive statistics in the last 2 months. So, yeah, I agree. That is a team to definitely, kind of focus on. Danny, what's up? The Brewers have had a bad history in the postseason. They are sizzling hot right now. Yeah, I mean, if they stunk in the postseason in the past, I guess it's a fact. But I think the team's a lot better than the past Brewers teams. They're not relying on Christian Yelich to do anything great. They're not relying on like 1 or 2 pitchers. They're kind of like they're a completely built team right now. They're very I was actually surprised up and down the lineup. It's not like they got like all-star name guys. They just have a very solid hitting team up and down the lineup. And the Brewers, they were pretty smart. They got rid of I mean, they didn't even make an offer to Montas. They kind of suckered one of their competition teams, the Mets, to pay Montas $17 million. That's a move that's gonna. I think that's kind of a move that may come back. Oh, I'm not gonna say may. That will come back to haunt David Stearns, because at the time, I would say 90% of people said that was a silly move. That was a silly move. Now, there was a faction of Mets fans saying, "Oh, this is this year's Luis Severino. This is this year's Sean Manaea." But Frankie Montas, I mean, the guy's makeup, his makeup is his makeup. I mean, he's a different pitcher and he's got a different talent set, a different skill set, and he wasn't worth 17 million. And he's kind of shown you why. You said it, Robbie. This is very important. This is very important. Professional teams, any team can get hot. Any team can get hot. Brewers are playing with a lot of confidence right now. The Mets, they're a team last year that played with a lot of confidence too. They are. They played with a lot of confidence at the end of last year, and they played with a lot of confidence when it mattered most, when it was crunch time, when they were fighting for a playoff spot, when they were in the playoffs. Brewers, when they're facing the Brewers in the wire, when we're facing the Brewers in the wild card round, wasn't easy. Wasn't easy. And playing the Phillies, couple key big home runs, and that's why guys like Mark Vientos, guys that succeeded last year under pressure, are guys that I don't want to give up on, guys that I want to actually build up. Lindor came up last year huge, came up second in the MVP. He's playing so far from that, so I think he's a key cog that you got to figure out. Vientos, I think he's still a key cog, a key DH. I think you have Mauricio at third base. That's obvious. Better defender, despite making an error the other day. But when the team lacks confidence and is very negative, it spreads. It spreads. And it's spread the last couple weeks. It's spread to everyone. Lindor making errors. He's a Gold Glove guy. Beatty, not a Gold Glove guy, but Beatty made errors. Mauricio made errors. A lot of guys made boneheaded plays. It just spreads when there's negativity. You need that positive energy. That's what a guy like Iglesias brought to the table. That's what I think a guy like Cedric Mullins will bring to the table. He's new. He's got to get to know people in that clubhouse. But Cedric Mullins is a very positive. Everybody that from the Orioles, they were upset. Everybody was upset they lost a good guy in Cedric Mullins. And that's why I was happy that we acquired him, because he's going to be a good presence in the clubhouse besides being a talent on the field. But let that positivity spread. Just like the Brewers, we have talent here too. And I think, we got from the offensive side, I think we got more talent. It's tough to say now because the Brewers in the last 2 months are like number one in many offensive categories, and the Mets in the last 2 months are the bottom portion of the league in a lot of categories offensively. But it matters when you get hot. It matters when you get hot. Let me see if I can play something for you. I want to see the Alonso home run.
3-2, nobody out. Profar runs, and Olson drives it to right field over toward the gap. Soto, it beats him over his head, and that'll send Profar to third. He'll stop there. Olson into second base with a double, and the Braves are in business. Second. Baldwin hits one on the ground. That'll get a run in. McNeil gets the out at first out of the night, but it's a productive out as Profar scores and Olson goes to third. So Holmes needing a strikeout, and he gets him. Sinker on the inside corner at the knees gets Ozuna for the second out.
That's a good pitch. That's a good pitch.
1-2 coming to Soto, and he hits it in the air to center field. Plenty of room for Harris.
And teams,
and he puts it away two down.
Trying to get Soto out, always try to get him to a high pitch.
Alvarez making his 15th start for the Braves this year. And he lines one into left field for a base hit. Hanging sweeper there by Holmes. And Alvarez has a base hit. And the Braves have two men on. Nick Allen's had a great defensive year, but has not hit much except against the Mets. And he hits a double play ball right to McNeil.
This was you.
This was a 4-6-3 double play. That gets Holmes through the inning. Double play asked for, double play provided. 1-2 coming. And Pete drives one deep left field, back toward the corner, and it's one hop to the wall.
He was nasty.
Alonso racing for second, and he's in standing with a 2-out double.
He got try the guy in double.
Since he's come off the injured list, his bat has been cooking. It's a ground ball to the left side. Alonso can advance as Alvarez throws out Marte for the second out.
Nice play by Nacho.
Big lead down the line. And Mullins punches one over the infield and into center field. A base hit to tie up the game. Alonso trots in to score. Cedric Mullins with his third RBI as a Met. And the Mets have tied the game at 1. Alvarez flies one deep right center. Back goes Brujan, takes a look.
Look at this kid. Look at this kid. That was a bomb.
The other way with a 2-run homer to put the Mets in front. Beatty flies one out to left field. That's pretty well hit. Profar on the warning track almost stumbled, and then he makes a leaping catch against the fence. Profar, who made a home run saving catch in Atlanta the other day, Profar runs again, and Olson goes down swinging. Alvarez, though, throws it wide, and Profar steals the base. Fourth. Now Drake Baldwin hits one on the ground. Lindor throwing to third, and they've got Profar in the rundown. Tag made by McNeil. Now a play at second base, and it's a double play.
Come on, if that was last week, they would have threw that ball into left field.
Terrible base running by the Braves. And
another key double
play. Nothing to do with his at-bats. So Yankee Stadium.
And Nimmo dumps one into shallow left for a base hit. And so Brandon snaps an 0 for 20 stretch with a 2-out single and gets aboard for Alonso.
Here we go. Here we go. History.
Pete drives one to deep right center field, headed back
toward the wall.
It's out of here! Out of here! Pete Alonso stands alone! The polar bear!
That added to it.
Now Marte takes one to right field for a base hit. McNeil pulls in at second.
All right. Okay. The reason why I want to show some highlights, it's the way the offense was smoking today. I mean, like, nobody was trying to pull the ball. Everybody was taking pitches wherever. Strider was throwing it on the outside part of the plate. All right, service shot to the opposite field. I mean, it's almost like the Braves were tipping pitches, or it's almost like, you know, the Mets hitting coaches actually had a good plan. The play is executed. I mean, up and down the lineup, every single offensive piece was dynamic tonight. Dynamic. Yeah, Danny, that ball was killed by Pete. I mean, it feels like it only got 25, 30 feet off the ground. I mean, I'm just saying that, but it never really got high off the ground. You know what I want to do? I want to play the comments from Mendoza before the game, because the comments from Mendoza before the game, I'm not gonna lie, they were getting me a little upset. But now after the Mets won, I want to see if they kind of hit me a little different. Damn, I can't find it. I should have it bookmarked. All right, here we go. I found it. All right, good.
The game the other day, you said we've got to get our starting pitching going. Besides just saying that and knowing that you want your starters to go deep, is there anything that as a coaching staff or as a unit they can do with that specifically in mind to get deeper in ball games?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is different, but I think it starts with attacking hitters and staying on the attack, avoiding deep counts. If you get ahead 0-2 before you know it, it's a 3-2 and it's a 7-8 pitch at bat. And you look up, it's the fourth inning and it's 80 pitches or something. It's the fifth inning and it's 85, 90. So I think
Clay
just
Holmes wasn't listening.
understanding this. And we've done that at times. It's been a struggle for the past, 6 weeks or so. And, I'm not making excuses, but like trying to build up some of the guys while we're trying to compete, it takes a toll, obviously. But now that we got to a point where everybody's full go and build up, where now, okay, we need to take that next step of staying aggressive, competing in the strike zone. You got to run a first one out instead of going for a strikeout. Maybe use that two seam if you got one against like a right on right, get a ground ball and get a double play, and you get 2 outs in one pitch. Just things like that we got to do a better job. And Hef is staying on top of it and having those discussions with our guys, and they'll step up.
Have you guys made a decision on Frankie yet?
Yeah, he's going to go to the bullpen. We had that conversation today. He's going to throw his side, and then the first day that he will be available is Thursday.
Do you have a starter yet for his?
Now, it'll be on Saturday, but we're still having the discussion who the next guy that's going to take the baseball there.
Peter? What's the latest on Paul Blackburn?
He's going to go one more tomorrow in AAA.
And then I guess doing the math, like, would he be a possibility for, probably not for Saturday?
Not for Saturday.
Was it possible somebody would be called up from AAA?
It's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony?
Just to follow up on that, David has said in the past that he would be reticent to call up the top pitching prospects that you guys have unless you could give them a runway. Do you consider this that type of runway?
Yeah, I mean, they are in the conversation. We just haven't decided who the guy is, but they're definitely in the conversation. And we'll see where it goes. But whoever comes up here, if he's one of the prospects, the plan is for give him a good look here.
What do you like about specifically McLean and Sproder, the guys who have obviously been there at AAA? I know you haven't made a decision, but what do you like about what you've seen from those two?
Yeah, there's a lot to like, especially where they at with their development. We continue to ask a lot, whether it's a Spro with the changeup and finding something against lefty. Same thing with McLean, but the way they've been competing, they've been going more than 5 innings and they're getting results. So everything that we're asking them to do, they continue to do it, with McLean, same way. I mean, this is a guy that is not only his ability to pitch, but it's just the mentality to compete, the way he holds runners. Like, there's a lot to like, when you're talking to some of the staff members down in AAA. So again, they continue to put themselves in a really good position, and here they are in the conversation.
Bruce? Carlos, is the clock ticking in terms of getting it together as a ball club?
Yes.
I think the clock is always ticking in the big league level, so it's not secret. I mean, you got to start playing better. There's a lot of good teams in the National League. We're a good team, but we got to go out there and do it. Understanding that there's no panic, but there's a sense of urgency, and it's always been like that. And they know, they understand where we are in the season, but so much I could sit here, they could say before or after the game, we got to go out there and do it.
So would you say there's urgency starting on this 6-game homestand?
I mean, there's urgency since opening day, so every game counts. Every game's important. Here we are in August, and the mentality is the same for us to go out there and get the job done.
Mike?
Carlos, just with Montas, was it just determined that basically he's got to kind of get it together down there in the bullpen, and kind of how would you use him down there?
Yeah, I mean, so right now, obviously, he'll be that long guy, but you never know. And that's what I told him, too. You could be pitching in the 8th inning on a tie ball game because of, where we at that day bullpen-wise. We try our best to give him enough time to get ready when we call his name. Obviously, the back-to-back is something that he's never done it. So it'll be fluid. But what I told him was we need him to be honest with us too. Like if he needs an extra day, he's got to let us know. So the recovery and how we're going to use it is still fluid.
Jerry?
Carlos, what was the deciding factor for you guys in?
When the hell are they going to put Montas in an important game? This guy should never pitch in any important situation. He's only going to be in blowouts. It should be.
He'll be the first one that tells you. It's been a battle for him health wise. And then after he got back, we saw flashes for a couple of outings, but then it's been a battle. And he understands where we are in the season, and that's why we made the decision.
Brian?
Carlos, I was curious what you had seen from Lindor at this point. I mean, does he look tired at all to you? Does he need a blow, or maybe like a game or two? Sitting against lefties. What do you see from him, and what is he going to take to turn him and get him back to the Lindor that we're accustomed to, I guess?
Too good of a player, and we all sit in here and, same thing with him, but to give him a blow, he's the first one out there hitting early. We saw it again today, like he's trying to find a way to get back on track. We need him. He knows that. I don't think any of us,
I mean, this is what I didn't understand. If he's not playing well and he's ineffective, why the hell does it matter if he's out there early? Whatever he's doing, it's not working. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's overworked. Stop doing the same thing over and over when it's not working. I mean, this was the pregame, so this was frustrating me when they were talking about Lindor. I'm just going to run him out there. And then you talk about consistency with Montas. You're doing the right decision. Montas was inconsistent. Gone. Get out of here. Go to the bullpen, whatever. But the other guy, Lindor, ultra inconsistent. Keep running him out there.
And himself anticipated this stretch being for this long, but he's too good of a player. He'll figure it out. As far as like sitting him, no, I mean, he's our guy. We got to get him going, and he will.
Ben?
Carlos, the conversation with Frankie, just how did he take all this? Moving, obviously, the opener over the weekend, now moving to the bullpen permanently. I would imagine it's tough for him. How did he sort of take the news?
Yeah, I mean, not happy. He's a competitor. He wants to start. and that's what we brought him in for. But understanding that the results haven't been there, so he understood, and he's willing to do whatever it takes. Again, the communication is going to be the big factor here. But it wasn't a surprise today. This was something that I kind of put it on the table with him on Sunday. And then today we finally, had that final conversation.
Andy?
With Montas, could you see, given like the makeup of your rotation, whether it's Holmes innings or some kids that could come up, could you see Montas being in a piggyback kind of situation?
We haven't discussed that specifically, whether it's like you're pitching the piggyback situation where it's like, all right, you're pitching this day after so and so. We haven't had that discussion. Now, we're gonna go through a stretch here pretty soon where we're playing, I think, 16 in a row, and we're probably gonna need an extra, like a 6 starter or so. He might still flexible, still fluid. In the meantime, right now, he's gonna be there.
Abby?
Frankie had some good starts coming off of the injured list, and then it seemed to spiral from there. Just what was the change between, the Montas that made those first few starts and the one that we've seen more recently?
Yeah, the first one was 5 innings, and I don't think he gave up a run. And then the following one was good too. But then it's just a little bit of everything: getting behind hitters, pitch selection, pitch usage. Not executing, and that's kind of like where he's at now. We've seen a couple of good innings, and then he loses it for 1. So we just obviously being on that role as a starting pitch, and you got to be able to get through a lineup 2 times, 3 times, and we just haven't been able to do that with him.
Changing the subject a little bit, but just Pete coming back here with a chance to set the record. What would that mean in front of a home crowd?
Yeah, I mean, special. Talking about a number, talking about history, so many great players that put up this uniform, and here we are, 1 away from witnessing something special, and for him to be able to do it here. But again, I don't think nobody's thinking about the home run record. Pete will say that too. So, hopefully he's a big one that helps us win a baseball game.
Howie?
Carlos, is there a school of thought that when a team has struggled the way yours has recently, and you're considering bringing up a young, significant prospect, even if it's just for 1 start, to join the rotation, is part of the decision made around the potential that a young player that the organization is looking at to contribute significantly down the road can give a team that's been struggling a certain burst of energy that could go beyond just whatever he's able to accomplish on the mound that night?
Yeah, it seems like that's the case, throughout the course of the year. I think we saw it last year with Mark Vientos, when he came up. We saw it with whether it was a Luis Torrens or a Jose Iglesias.
Okay, so that was basically it. So before this game, we clearly saw the Mets, I don't want to say shifted their philosophy, but what they did do was they took the starting job away from Frankie Montas, a guy they are paying $17 million a year to, right? I mean, we could say the guy didn't deserve it. He's not talented. He stinks. But you know what? The Mets could have dug their heels in. They could have said the guy came back a month and a half ago. He is still getting built up. He came back a little before the time Anaya did. He's still getting built up. But the New York Mets right now took the job away from Montas. Great job. Good job. Sent a message to everybody else. Hey, Steve Cohen believes in us. Carlos Mendoza believes in us. We still got great talent here, and we are going to make moves to make sure we are putting the best, the most talented people in this organization on the field. A couple of days ago, Mets shifted a bunch of prospects from AA to AAA. Guys like Jet Williams, guys like Jonah Tong. If the offense continues to struggle, guys like Drew Gilbert, guys like Jet Williams and Ryan Clifford are not far from the major leagues. But the pitching is right there. We're going to see a pitcher on Saturday. We're going to see, hopefully a young superstar pitcher. We have been waiting for years. The last superstar pitcher was, what was it? DeGrom? DeGrom came in 2014. We have not developed any young starting pitching talent. You know, David Peterson, yes, he's coming on of late, but I'm waiting for that next top of the rotation guy. And could he be here on Saturday? You know, could he be here sometime in August? Is it Sproat? Is it McLean? Is it Jonah Tong? Is it somebody else in our organization? The fact that the New York Mets are right now relying, they don't let them fool you. They're saying they don't want to put a lot of pressure on these kids. Well, the way the situation works for the New York Mets and their pitching situation, the pressure is on the kids. And you know what? The Mets must believe that these kids are special enough to handle it. Because the way the situation was set up, even this year, and that's the only thing that makes me feel better. I think that we should have done a better job with the pitching staff in the offseason. But the fact that we have this pitching staff and we didn't make any other moves kind of tells me that David Stearns, the scouts, the analysts, believe this crop of young pitchers can do the job and be effective. Time will tell. And the thing is, you could be effective in AAA. You could be effective in AA. But these kids are going to have to be effective under the lights in New York City in a postseason run. And hopefully, thankfully, in the playoffs. So, you know, if these kids perform, it's, you know, and they do well, it's going to be a great experience. I think it'll help them kick off a great career. You know, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see young talent, especially a young pitcher, young starting pitcher. I would have liked us to develop a couple kids last year to insert in the rotation so that we don't have to have the likes of Frankie Montas in the rotation. You know, turn a reliever like Holmes, although that was, you know, that was decently successful. It just wasn't thought out long term. I mean, you know, you can't really, you could say, hey, Holmes, why can't you throw strike? You know, why? Let me just get you the exact innings before I make this statement, make this point. So Clay Holmes coming into today he's at around 122 innings, 122 innings for the season. So his highest pitch, where I'll go last year. Last year was around his highest. He pitched 63 innings. So this year he has already doubled his whole season output for innings. So can I fault a guy for getting tired or for not being able to go 5, 6, 7 innings when he's already doubled his most innings in an entire season? So was this whole Holmes situation thought out correctly? That seems to be a flaw, especially when Mendoza stated in his interview, we have not even spoke about anybody piggybacking, you know, any of our pitchers. I mean, you know, you would think, you know, maybe you're going to bring a Sproat or you're going to bring a McLean to piggyback a guy like Holmes, and then the other guy will make a start whenever. I mean, I would think that conversation would have happened weeks and weeks ago before the trade deadline. So, I mean, it's stuff like that. Maybe they're not giving us their whole plan. In fact, we know they're not giving us their whole plan. The Mets have been very tight-lipped under the David Stearns regime, which, I mean, I could say, hey, you know, give them credit for. It would be nice for us to know some more inner workings. But, you know, I guess that's how you run a good organization. At the end of the day, we're going to get a chance ourselves to see some young talent, some young, fresh talent, and that's going to be pretty damn exciting. Let's see, Dan. It's probably Sproat. What's up, Dan? Yeah, I mean, Sproat. I was doing I was looking. Did he pitch? Because he pitched the last time Sproat pitched was the 8th, August 8th. All right, so it is the 12th today. It's going to be the 14th Thursday, so it's going to be the 16th. If I'm doing that right, it's going to be the 16th on Saturday. So, I mean, you know, that's 8 days rest. So he'll be well rested for that. And then I think you have McLean on 6 days rest. So he's more in line with the 5-day period. But again, if they want to throw Sproat on a little extra rest, it could be Sproat. I'm thinking it's Nolan McLean just because it lines up more with his normal rest. Not that he's in a better situation, although his numbers are a bit better this year. I'm thinking it's McLean. Watch it be, they said it's not Blackburn. So, I mean, it's not Blackburn. Carlos Mendoza said it's not Paul Blackburn. But watch it be somebody else. Watch it be a Dom Hamill. Watch it be somebody else. That would just be so fitting. It's so funny. I'm looking at the AAA stats, and Francisco Alvarez, even though he only played 21 games in AAA, he's 1 home run behind the team lead in home runs. He hit 11 home runs, Francisco Alvarez. Telling you, this kid could be a beast. All right, so pitching. All right. So I'm looking at the AAA. I mean, Blake Tidwell, he would be an option if we didn't trade him, but obviously he's not an option. Justin Hagenman is up here already. I mean, I'm looking at the guys, the pitching staff who have thrown the most innings in the most innings. Brandon Sproat's thrown the most innings in AAA. He's thrown 101 innings. I mean, you got a guy, Austin Warren. He's thrown 36 innings, 5-2, 4.95 ERA. Nolan McLean, he's there as well. Dom Hamill, he's also there. I don't know. I mean, see, the thing is, at the end of the day, they didn't guarantee it was Sproat or McLean. I'm just wondering. I mean, if the Mets continue to play terribly, I think the Mets would feel more obligated to bring up one of the young studs like Sproat or McLean, obviously to spark the team, to give the fans something to be excited about. But I'm just saying, maybe if the Mets win a couple games in a row, maybe they might think, all right, you know what? Let's still try to get the kids some more seasoning, and let's go with a Dom Hamill. So it's not 100% set in stone, but I would be personally very, very disappointed if we're wasting a start on a guy that we don't have a lot of confidence in. I mean, a guy like Dom Hamill, he's 4-5 with a 4.76 ERA. He came up already. We had him for use in the bullpen. All right, folks. Warren isn't terrible. Either he has pitched well for us. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I just want to see one of the kids. I want to see, the talent. I want to see how they look at the major league level. I mean, that's what I really, really want to see. A guy like Warren, he could be serviceable. That's fine. But I just want to see, the future. And also, too, I want to see what type of weapon. Maybe Sproat could be a dynamic weapon. Maybe McLean could be a dynamic weapon. We're still in the business of making sure that we're putting together a team that's set to make a playoff run. We want to put the most talented players. Now, does Warren have, a spot on a major league team? Yeah, but does Sproat have a higher ceiling to impact, with his talent, this team? I think Sproat has that higher ceiling. I think McLean has that highest ceiling, even if they could be a dominant arm out of the pen and pitch 2 or 3 innings. I mean, if you have the more talented arms on the team, the better, the more options you'll have. Danny, you know what? I think this is actually very, very well said. And I've been beating this drum for the last couple years. The age that Nimmo, Alonso, Lindor even, they need young guys up now. There is no tomorrow. And the fact is, you're stating that our core is, it's not old, but everybody's middle-aged. Everybody is at the, in 2 years, Nimmo, Alonso, Lindor, they're going to be considered old. Let's just put it that way. So they have a very tiny window where they're at the end of their prime. They're at the end of their prime right now. So, yeah, I think that's very important. They're all around 30, 31 years old. Nimmo has had some injuries in the past. Lindor had the back injury last year. Alonso's a lumbering guy. So it's not like these guys, I think, are going to age better than, other guys. Like, they're going to be healthy at 34, 35. They're going to be fit. I hope they are. I hope they're playing at a high level at 34 or 35. But, they're 31 years old. They're not 25 years old. Like, Soto, you have a little more time with. So absolutely right. If these kids can elevate the team's up, overall talent, why not? Bring them up. The time is now. I try to listen to as many podcasts, as many shows as I can, and everybody's worried about the future. They're worried about next year. They're worried about screwing up Sproat, screwing up McLean. You know what, folks? There's no guarantee next year. There's no guarantee. No guarantee. In 2027, there's certainly no guarantee with the collective bargaining agreement ending. So there's no guarantee. So let's take advantage of this year. And the Brewers, I mean, they may be the class, right? And before this season, is that like if I said the Brewers are going to be the best of the best and that's the team that we're going to have to get past? I think a lot of people would have said, we beat them last year. They're not that great. We got Soto. We got Senga. We got some young kids. Bring the Brewers on. And, the fact of the matter is, yeah, we might play the Brewers. But, I like some pretty young fireballing arms in our bullpen or our starting rotation, especially replacing guys like Montas. And, Manaea got to get his crap together. Because – they're saying that he's got to get built up a little. And I hear a lot of people saying that they expect Manaea to be the Sean Manaea of, last year. But I'm still going to say Sean Manaea of last year was good for 2.5 months. Before those 2.5 months, you have a guy with a career ERA of over 4.04. Now, I hope he recaptures what he had the last 2 months. But, I'm a little alarmed about Manaea. So the more the merrier with these young kids, these young talented kids. I like all of them to come up if they're going to be helpful. If Warren could be helpful, if McLean could be helpful, if Sproat could be helpful. There's a lot of spots right now. Dan, looking like a long lockout for 27. I'll tell you one thing I don't like. Why do we always have to wait for the deadline to work this out? I know it's a part of negotiation, but, this is at the expense of the fans. I feel like the fans should making, a preemptive strike Like, fans, I feel all across America, MLB fans all across America should be saying, we're going to strike. If you don't get anything done by mid-2026, fans should stop watching, because I don't want to lose any baseball. But the only time people react is if you hurt their bottom line. Now, I just want to see baseball. I want to see baseball. I mean, do whatever you want. I want to see baseball in 2027. And I just don't like the fact that, they take baseball away from us. And if there's something that we could do to actually force the hand of the Players Association to, Players Association, the owners, get together, the millionaires and the billionaires. Everybody's still going to make a lot of money. The fans are the people giving up their hard-earned money. Let's figure something out early, because you're certainly right, Dan. If this gets down to the wire, I don't think we're going to have – I think there's going to be a chunk of 2027 out the door. All right, so folks, we're a little over 1.5 hours right now. So we've had a great night. I got to say that. But I'm getting tired. so we're gonna do this tomorrow night. So if anything, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Like if you can like, it really helps out the channel. I appreciate everyone for great comments. Even if I didn't get to the comment, I saw everybody's comment. I do appreciate everyone. Dan, Danny, Sharon, Robbie, Juan, Jason. The comments aren't going back. Ray. So, but thank you everybody for the comments. I appreciate everyone. Thank you. Have a great night. Get some sleep. Have good dreams tonight. Because tonight we're on a winning streak. The winning streak is at 1. Enjoy, folks. Enjoy.